Hello and welcome to No Man's Podcast, the Students of S.H.I.E.L.D. Batman podcast, where we cover all things pertaining to No Man's Land. I'm Mike, alongside,
I'm Vincent.
and like we said at the end of the last episode, we finished Cataclysm, so we are on to Batman: Road to No Man's Land, Volume 1. So it's the first of two volumes before we officially get to what's dubbed as No Man's Land. So just going down the docket, we're going to look at Batman Shadow of the Bat 75, Batman 555, Detective Comics number 722, Shadow of the Bat 76, Robin 54, and Batman 556. And jumping right into it, we're going to kick off with Batman Shadow of the Bat, the special 75th issue, which is not oversized, which I was happy about that.
Well, I think it slightly is. I mean,
I counted. Yeah. The main story is 22. I think it's a 4-page backup or something. Yeah, so I guess it's like 30. Wasn't horribly oversized to like the stuff we were reading last week on the weekly show.
Yeah.
But we have the Aftershock banner now on the books. We don't have the vertical side banner of Cataclysm. We just have the kind of horizontal banner on top with Aftershocks and like the seismic wave on top of it.
Well, here's a question: should 25 and 75 issues be oversized?
Personally, no. But I know DC, at least in the Rebirth era / from Rebirth to now, they've considered 25 to be a milestone issue. So Batman 25 was oversized, Flash 25 was oversized. This week's Justice League 25 is oversized. So and with the way comics work today, I guess 25 issues is kind of a good marker, but those 3 books have all had the same writer and relatively same artist team on it.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of an achievement today, as you said, way less so in 1998 or whatever. But also, the Rebirth examples are dubious on another level because issue 25, that's like barely past a year with double.
Right.
So it's like, ooh, you made it a year.
But, well, we'll talk about it on the weekly show. I think we're going to record that Friday, but DC is going to be ceasing the double shipping soon. But yep, we're open up with Shadow of the Bat 75 by Fire or by Ice. This is our main story by Alan Grant and Mark Buckingham, as the cover teases the return of Clayface and Mr. Freeze. So these are 2 villains we have not seen yet. We open up with Batman on top of the building's Jurgens and Company, while there's a man who is a potential suicide jumper on top of Brayfogle International.
Yeah. This whole issue is filled with like signs and buildings that
this whole episode is. It's not just this issue.
Well, there's like 1 or 2 later, but like this issue in particular, way more than the other ones. But there's Brayfogle, Jurgens, Brett Blevins, M.D. Bright, Barry Kitson, Vince Giordano, Rick Burchett, Joe Staten, John Paul Leone, Jim Aparo, Mike Collins, Dave Taylor. They all get little shout outs in just this issue.
And I know your take on this is, if you're going to do a shout out, at least do it to a person who's like retired.
Well, no, I just don't like it when people do a shout out to themselves.
Okay.
So if there was a Alan Grant, or if there was a Grant or a Buckingham sign, that would annoy me. But even if it's someone who's just on the other books, like Aparo sort of is, and Brayfogle is, like, that's fine with me.
Well, it's funny to get Brayfogle gets the shout out in the main feature, but he draws the backup feature.
Yeah.
So, but this issue opens up with Batman. We see with that guy who's a potential suicide jumper. He stops him, but he doesn't fully get to deal with it fast enough. He just ties him up because Mr. Freeze is robbing a jewelry store, and Clayface, who's now covered in quartz from I guess they referenced the Batman's last battle with him. He got trapped underground, and his body kind of is molded with quartz now. So like now he's like super strong, I guess. He's also got electrical powers through the quartz, I guess, too. I do want to state that I hate this Mr. Freeze costume. It's very reminiscent of Batman and Robin, I feel. with the Schwarzenegger look.
Well, there's a little bit more Batman and Robin too, because he makes a few puns.
Yeah, it's like, and I was like, can we get the stain out of this? Like, it's not great.
When did Batman and Robin come out?
97.
Okay, so yeah, so it was already out. So they're probably slightly influenced by it, actually.
Yeah, which it is sad because I mean that was the movie that gave us they used the animated series origin in that movie. But yeah, I feel like Mark Buckingham's pencils to me. I think he's definitely my least favorite main artist. I just there's so much inconsistency with his art. I feel, and his action scenes to me are just kind of standard. We got Batman running around with these like night vision goggles on his head too, which are weird, or like infrared
Yeah.
goggles, which normally just has those in his lenses anyway. So, but basic story here is Batman first fights Mr. Freeze, and then Clayface comes out, and then he's got to fight both of them, and then Freeze tries to fight Clayface, and then they turn on each other. Batman gets away, and then he goes up and saves the Jumper and talks him down. But I don't think the work with talking him down was presented very well. Like I don't think it was that good.
Well, it's yeah. I mean, initially he just ties him up and is like, "I'll get back to you later." And I, I guess the point is he didn't really have to talk to him at all. He basically just forced the guy to spectate his fight with the villains,
Yeah,
which recontextualizes him.
but that leads to our backup story, A Long Slow Death, which is still Grant on scripting, but first appearance of Norm Brayfogle on pencils in this show. My personal favorite Batman artist.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, recently passed away. Earlier, I feel like it was either late 2018 or late early 2019. I feel,
Yeah.
but definitely no more than a year past. This so this backup is all about the guy who was the Jumper at the beginning, and it's just so needlessly just like depressing. It's about this guy who is playing catch with his kid in the park, and he fails to catch his kid, and he falls and just breaks his neck and gets paralyzed. And then after that, his wife resents him, and then his business is getting shaken down by the mob, and then the earthquake just takes all of them out.
It's really fucked up.
It's so depressing.
It, it's definitely like some Pixar emotional manipulation. Like it's pretty over the top, but I think it's still like works relatively well as a gut punch. You just accept that it's a comic book, it's gonna be a
Yeah.
little campier. And I thought the
I
way
thought People's pencils were good though. More detailed faces than I usually see
yeah,
from him here.
yeah, the art's good, and I thought the way it actually wraps around and is totally relevant to the main story. Because this guy is the Jumper in the main story,
Yep.
and I didn't fully figure that out until like 2/3 way through the backup, and I'm like,
Oh, really?
oh, that makes total sense. I thought it's pretty neat how they did this.
Yeah, I liked it. I like when the backup connects to the main feature. Um, so we don't really see that much more anymore. But I don't know. I thought this was once again just kind of a so forgettable issue here, and I'm starting to wonder if No Man's Land is just another okay. Well, here's what's going on here while this is all hellish landscape.
Yeah. Um,
So
I think once we get into
we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
yeah, I think once we get into No Man's Land proper with like
Yeah, once we get into No Man's Land, we can
where there's like territories and they have all that stuff set up, should be more interesting. Um, for the other major note I
yeah,
wanted to
I agree.
share on this issue is that it's noted that it's been 8 days since the quake, and the estimates are 10,000 dead.
Yeah,
But probably way more than that.
so yeah, it's definitely way more than that.
The other thing is I just looked up. So Clayface his last major appearance was all the way back in '89 with the Mud Pack arc, which is Grant and Brayfogle. So he's basically
Okay.
been, well, the Basil Carlo version of Clayface has basically been off the table.
Okay. 'Cause I was gonna say we had the multiple versions running
Yeah,
around for a while.
but he's been gone for almost 10 years. Pretty crazy. I will definitely see him again during No Man's
It's
Land,
crazy.
and we'll see Freeze again, and during No Man's Land we'll see Freeze change.
Yep.
So next issue, Batman 555.
I mean,
I think it's interesting to consider that like 10 years later or so, 666 is Morrison.
yeah, and I'd say 666 much better issue than 555.
Yeah. Um,
666 is the future issue of Damian as Batman.
yeah. This is Monk and John Beatty, and so Batman and Robin, they dislodge a boulder in the cave to open up a tunnel, and then to set up what they're about to do, we get some Vesper Fairchild narration on the radio. There's a trapped subway with some commuters like who were late coming home, so they were probably staying at work late, so their day is just totally fucked. And so Batman and Robin are going to try and rescue them. Meanwhile, Ratcatcher, having escaped from Blackgate in one of our first issues on the show, he gives a epic speech to the rats of the city, and sort of touches
It's
on,
like the scene in Batman Returns, but with a rat.
yeah, and he kind of in the process kind of addresses his origin, where he's a former exterminator, and then I'm not really certain on the specifics. I didn't bother to look it up, but I gather that he killed someone by accident, maybe on purpose, and obviously got arrested and everything. But he sees it as like this crazy injustice because he's killed all these billion rats. So he's like, well, I'll just be cool with the rats and kill people now. So Batman and Robin, they're going to use controlled demo to get to the victims, and they may have to take them out through the Batcave, which prompts a discussion from Tim Drake. And Bruce basically shares that Batman will go on with or without the Bruce Wayne secret identity, with or without the manor or the cave, or even himself, Bruce Wayne. And he says John Paul Valley obviously didn't work out, and Dick Grayson during Prodigal didn't really work out that great either. But maybe Tim will. And so I don't know if this is really the first mention of that. But I mean,
I don't know either. It could be.
pre Flashpoint and everything, that this was always the deal, was that yeah, Dick Grayson is perfectly fine replacement Batman, and he serves that same role, basically knowing that he's a replacement uh, towards the end near Flashpoint. But the ultimate idea is that Tim would be the proper successor to Batman.
Morrison has
And
a Batman run at the beginning of R.I.P., but obviously Tim is not the one that gets the suit.
yeah, and it gets a little, there's a big wrench in that idea once Damien comes in the picture. And then, so they finally they save the commuters and basically are able, well, yeah, they get to the commuters. And in this issue, and we'll see it in other issues, in this era, there's this idea that people don't believe in Batman and they think he's a myth,
Right.
which is really, it's like the dumbest part of this era. It doesn't make any sense.
I hate it more when I was reading through, as I was telling you, when I was reading, what was it, War Games, where they keep trying to do that too, where there's a moment in War Games where Batman's caught on a TV camera, coming out of a school carrying a child. That's the first like media gotten piece of Batman. It's like no, especially when we get into No Man's Land, where they reiterate that Batman has been around for 10 years. Batman is not he cannot be at this point in his career an urban legend, especially as he's on the Justice League.
Yeah, he's on the Justice League. Nightwing is on the Teen Titans. That's a fairly, outward-facing, prominent.
Robin was on the Teen Titans. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Um, and it's like everyone knows the villains. It's not like the villains try and hide, and everyone
yeah,
knows someone's
yeah.
beating
The
up someone.
DCPD ain't just taking out the Joker.
Yeah,
Also, your city signs a giant bat signal in the sky.
exactly. Um, but Ratcatcher stops the rescue party, and there's some taunting back and forth between him and Batman, such as what species bats are, whether they're rodents, and like Batman says they've been reclassified as primates, I think, which doesn't make any sense. That can't be true.
That can't be, or like it was, and like in that year, and then like debunked whether with like within a decade, probably.
Yeah, there's probably some dumb conspiracy theory or something. Um, then while Batman and Ratcatcher are arguing, Tim is clearly sneaking up on Ratcatcher, but then doesn't do anything. Like it doesn't factor into.
Yeah, I thought they were setting up for like a Robin takes him out while Batman has him distracted. I do want to comment on Robin's hair in this issue. Why does he have a bowl cut?
I think it's just some of the artists aren't very consistent.
Because he just looks completely out of place. Like normal, Tim's hair has usually been. I think it's usually one of his identifying features. He's got like the kind of the script, like that's the side spike going on. That's usually how he's drawn. But here having him with the Guy Gardner bowl cut is just very odd.
Yeah, it's strange. But Ratcatcher's rats fuck everything up, and Batman basically just forces him to help everyone out, and that's the end of the issue.
Yeah.
So take us to Detective.
All right, Detective Comics. I gotta find the number here as I'm scrolling back up.
722.
722. Yep. Now I just gotta get to the credits page. There we go. We got Statistics is the name of this story. We got Chuck Dixon and Jim Aparo is our team for this one. It begins with the little girl without any parents asking where her mommy is, while Batman and Robin are debating. Batman's just like, listen, I can't help every single one of these. You take this one. So this is Robin's mission. This is kind of a Robin story and more of a Gordon story too.
Yeah, Batman's barely in this. Maybe honestly, maybe only like 5 pages max.
Yeah. Which, hey, I'm fine with. We got more Robin. Especially where when we were drafting this show, we thought Robin was going to be in the sewers most of the time. But Robin gets a little bit of information from her, but then he kind of just pawns her off to Montoya and Bullock. Batman's swinging around the city and commenting how when you throw your bat line out, it's kind of a 50-50 gamble on whether the ground's going to keep it or not. And him and Robin talk about how the city's changing in the scape of like not every building secure. We don't necessarily know how stable anything is if we're swinging on ropes around here. And we cut back to Gordon, who's wondering where Sarah Essen is, and for we get her first appearance in this podcast. She is on the other side of the city, I think the Tri-Corner area, and she's getting the water supply turned back on, using her police authority to say, hey, if you don't turn this back on, it's a danger to everyone, and I'll arrest you. So we get the first appearance of Sarah Essen, Gordon's wife, at this time, who will then, spoiler alert, be later murdered by the Joker in the story. So this is actually like, since year one, that's the first time I've read Essen in a comic book. So for what that's worth. But I like how she was like kind of take charge doing her thing in the Tri-Corner area. We got Robin shaking down Penguin for information because the girl gave the detectives information that a known like drug pusher was her mom's boyfriend, and Robin tracks them down, and their plan was just to abandon the kid.
Yeah, which is fucked up.
Yeah, it's super messed up. But they find a place for the girl at the end, and everything ends happily ever after. I thought this was all right. I thought Aparo's pencil is a little bit rougher, but I liked the coloring in here. I like the darker colors.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I mean, Amparo's at this point, he's getting old. So
Yeah,
it is interesting. It's not like we're reading any of that stuff on this podcast, but it's interesting to see through his very long career, where at almost every point he was drawing Batman, you can see his style drastically change, and the kind of style and creators around him. Obviously, the inkers and the colorists that he works with are going to affect that as well. But like especially the opening few pages of this issue, where it's like the girl like running around and being upset. Like
yeah.
if you put that next to like some like 1968 Brave and the Bold or something, it's like what the hell? There's no way
I
this is the same artist.
it's really the most jarring thing for Aparo's art for me is not seeing him drawing Batman in the classic blue and gray with the yellow oval. It is so weird seeing him draw Batman in the Troika suit. It's still good. It's just like it's like when someone gets a haircut and you have to readjust to how someone looks. That's kind of how it is.
But I loved seeing Penguin again. Um, he's
Our
got
most recurring villain so far.
yeah, he's got his little niche, and also so that Tim finds a bunch of cash in the girl's doll, and in the end, it's like, oh yeah, her college is paid. So I guess he like put that away in a trust for her. It's not
Probably the Bruce Wayne Scholarship Trust Fund.
yeah. So then we're back to Shadow of the Bat number 76. It's got a pretty unique but visually appealing cover. It's a painted cover. Shadow of the Bat. It's all mostly Glenn Orbit covers at this point. He does
Yeah.
painted stuff, but this
Also, shout out for the trade for I don't know if you have the trade,
yeah,
but it'll actually just full out say on the next page who did the
yeah,
cover for that issue. Some DC books don't do that, and they won't credit it at all. So I really like that touch.
yeah. DC through the years has been very consistent on how they handle cover art in their collections. Um, but it's a nice like all green toned cover. It's pretty cool. So there's some people trapped in a building, and it was a private party for some wealthy Gothamite, which Bruce was supposed to attend. He was invited, but he ended up not going. And these people are trapped, and they're considering cannibalism. And the owner also had a private zoo in his house,
Yeah,
and so we see a vulture quickly, and then Batman fights a Black Panther. And back inside, they draw straws. Someone gets the short straw, and he freaks out, accidentally kills a guy. But Batman, right after that, saves them all, and so they don't eat any of one. But in the end, Batman's like, "Hey, what about the guy whose house this is?" And they're like, "He broke his leg, blah blah, and then we killed him." Did you read that as we already ate someone, or we just killed him?
I read it as we already ate
Okay,
someone.
yeah, I was. I think that's supposed to be the point of it, and it's like slightly subtle because it's presented as this is their first decision trying to figuring out like cannibalism and who to eat. But I think the twist at the end is they've already done it once. And then there's like this tiny one page like epilogue segment where Batman yells at the sky. He has like a breakdown, yells at the sky, and then chills out and is like moves on. And I didn't really like this. I thought it was really ill. It reads very stupid, and I don't think it's really in character for Batman.
No, it's just like weird. He's done that. There's a moment similar to this and it's done much better in the episode "I Am the Night" in Batman the Animated Series. That's the one where Gordon gets shot and Batman just has his breaking point where he's throwing stuff around the cave and he just yells. Much better scene than this.
Yeah, and also like just this idea, it screams like campy movie stuff to me as well. Like I could see this scene in like one of the Schumacher movies or something. Batman
Yeah.
like, barely loses a fight and just they zoom in close and he yells at the sky and then they fade it to the next scene. But like it's also just clunky in comics because you to really get the full effect of like how angry and desperate someone is when they're yelling, you just have to go ridiculous with the lettering, and it didn't work.
Yeah, not really. But I thought it tried for something different though. Like throwing cannibalism in was definitely a difference maker.
Yeah, I mean it's a very like some of these stories they're just quick like pulp hits. It's like there's all kinds of fucked up shit, all kinds of people in different situations in this post earthquake environment. So what is like a weird angle that we can do there? Like we had the one where Bruce, through his Bruce persona, hires all the goons to
Yeah.
go down the elevator shaft and save people, and you could see like remove Batman, like this could be like a it's not sci-fi at all, but this could be like a Twilight Zone-esque kind of episode.
Oh yeah. It.
And
I
that
think
one as well.
what is satisfying though is seeing how the writers come up with these for one issue. Like I feel like if No Man's Land was a thing that happened today, like that specific section, that'd be like 4 issues.
Yep.
But that's just the way storytelling is different now. But if you good on Shadow the Bat?
Yep.
All right, Robin number 54, the spoiler in a city in agony. Chuck Dixon and Staz Johnson. So we're cutting back to Tim Drake. We got a lot of Tim Drake in this episode, so wondering how he's doing all of this at once. I'm just assuming it's happening over multiple days. Um, but he's trying to get around to visit his then current girlfriend Ariana Dachenko. It's one of Tim Drake's girlfriends. She is a Russian.
No, she's Ukrainian.
She's Ukrainian.
Yeah.
DC Wiki has her as American Russian.
Well, she's definitely Ukrainian because someone says
Yeah, they say Ukrainian here, but
they say that sounds Russian, and Tim says Ukrainian.
but another first appearance. I don't think we've seen it before.
No.
We get the Redbird, Vince.
Yep.
Tim Drake's car.
So I guess he's 16 or older.
Yeah.
Okay. Though I mean he mostly used. Well, wait, so does he use it as Robin?
Yeah, it has a giant. It like kind of flips, and it's got the Robin logo on the side of it.
Okay, so it like transforms.
I think so.
Okay, because later he like totally uses it, and like it seems to not be a new thing. He uses it as Tim Drake at the end of the issue.
Yeah, it's and then sometimes I'd say sometimes the Redbird is a motorcycle too. But yeah, this is the classic. This is the classic kind of like sleek car that Robin gets to drive around. I think it's fun. Um, no, I don't think any other Robin has had a car. I think Damian has this little like fly cycle thing. That's the closest we've come to a Robin having their own vehicle again. But then again, there's only been 2 Robins after Tim, so you take it face value there. But Robin's trying to figure out where his girlfriend's at. He ends up running into his dad, who stupidly is trying to pay off these guys to fix his house, but they're just taking the money and running, and he already paid it in a cash deposit. So Robin goes and searches in the school, which has been turned into a shelter. And he's just kind of creepily watching her, and then he sees Stephanie Brown there, and he just kind of flings a batarang at Stephanie Brown to come meet outside to talk to her. Um, and then the whole point of this issue is Stephanie left her spoiler costume back at her house, and she wants it, so she asks Robin if he can go get it, and he jokingly says he will, but he ends up going and getting it anyway. The whole time of this is Robin has to evade these kind of or the kind of National Guard reserve officers that have been drafted in because to help with the quake relief. and he gets into their house, and of course it's ransacked, but not by just any looters. It's Clue Master who's just there, and he has the spoiler's costume already in his hands, and he full out asks him, he's like, "Why'd you just trash the house?" He's like, "Oh, I just did that for fun."
Yeah.
So I just thought that was amusing. All the sounds they're making, the people are the National Guard's coming in. They have a fight. They end up crash down into a pool where Robin gets the costume and he beats Clue Master. His Clue Master gets away again, and he goes back to Stephanie and he's like, "Actually, I'm just gonna hang on to this costume. See ya, bye." And then he goes and meets up with Ariana, and they get back together, and they drive away, and the spoiler costume's right in the back seat, which I thought was funny. But also, on the meantime, Robin runs into the guys that ripped off his dad, and he gets the cash back, and he returns some of it to his dad and puts the other and donates the rest of it to a charity relief for the quake. I thought this was a fun. I thought this was a fun issue. I'm
Yeah,
really liking these Robin issues.
yeah, it's solid. I imagine in the next issue, which I'm not certain if we'll read, I imagine maybe his girlfriend sees the spoiler costume and is like, "What the hell is that?" Blah blah.
I feel like that's definitely the setup.
Yeah. It was a fun issue. I don't know. I'm not super familiar with his other stuff. He does tons of like kind of B-level Batman work, I believe. But Staz Johnson, the art's not amazing, but it's not bad.
I, Stas Johnson's fine.
Yeah, the first like 20 issues or so of the main series have really cool art because it's like Tom Grummett, Michael Ringo, people like that.
Yeah.
At this point, it's just like this is a very solid like B tier DC book in
I'd
1999.
say if we want to take a brief break, if you were reading comics in this era, which Batman books, if you had a pull list, which Batman books would you definitely be picking up?
Um,
Because I feel like Robin would be on my list.
I don't know. It's hard to say. Like just for the sake of the question, let's say that you definitely can't pick up all of them.
Right.
Definitely Nightwing. That would be my first choice. Honestly, probably Catwoman. So I'd say Nightwing, Catwoman, Robin. Mostly because this stuff is like isolated. Like once you get into the Batman books, you feel more and more compelled to pick up all the actual Batman books.
Right.
Honestly, out of the ones we've read so far, and even though we're 5 episodes in, we're not super deep on any of these Bat books. Out of the Bat books, I might pick up Shadow the Bat first with this current creative team.
Okay. I would probably go with Batman, just as those are the ones that I think I've been enjoying more. Plus, that's the flagship.
Yeah.
So,
The thing is, for me, besides Shadow the Bat, and I may be not remembering perfectly, it seems like the other books, which I guess is just Batman and Detective, the art teams aren't as consistent at this exact moment.
yeah,
Um,
there has been a lot of running around. Mark Buckingham's kind of been like on 3 different books, I feel.
yeah, but I think almost every issue of Shadow the Bat we've read has been Buckingham.
Yeah.
So creative what team wise, that's the most consistent one at the moment. But I know that we're at the beginning of this. There are some creative teams slowly shifting, so it should become a little more consistent soon. I'll close things out. Batman 556, Monk and Brayfogle. So now uh, Brayfogle is doing full interiors on this book. Last issue was John Beatty, so there's what I was talking about.
Right.
Um, so the whole Bat crew, well, Batman, Nightwing, Robin, Alfred, Harold, are in the cave deliberating plans, and the idea is if we clear out all the Bat-related stuff, then we can have professionals come in and repair the manor in the cave. And it's just like, oh, the earthquake created a cave, or there was just a cave we didn't know about. It's down here, and repair the stuff, and then they'll move back in the Bat stuff. And they're like, yeah, we can do that. But like, I mean, I guess they have to because they had to have gotten all this stuff there in the first place. But like, how do you move the giant dinosaur or the giant penny?
I don't, especially as the giant penny is like holding other stuff down from falling in, as they established earlier too. I don't know. I imagine them like getting some sort of crane contraption that Harold gets, and they just kind of like almost like a Looney Tunes gag, just kind of shove it under a rug and hope no one notices.
Yeah.
But this does, I believe, set up for the new Batcave, which is like the semi subterior level one, where it's like just a giant hole and different levels up.
Okay.
At least that's how it's portrayed in the. I had the DK Batman encyclopedia, so they had the original Batcave and the new Batcave, which was post No Man's Land. That's the way they had it. Like, so it's like it just like it goes straight down, and like there's different sub levels and rooms that they build into.
Then Bruce, just in the middle of their discussion, runs off to the bank, and there's Fast Frankie and two of his accomplices. When the earthquake hit, looters, they ran over to the bank to rob the vault, but got trapped in the vault in the process. And Bruce heard about this, so he goes in, beats them up, and then carries them out. Then he meets in his civvies with his kind of Wayne panel, including Relazzo, and he's basically like, "Yeah, I'll just throw money at you." And during the meeting, he's playing golf in his office.
I love this.
He's really playing into like the douchebag uber rich.
But he's not though, because he doesn't want his name as he's the one who's publicly giving the money. Like it's very weird to see like Bruce is definitely like helping out the city in all ways he can, even with like his head committee chairs there. But like, yeah, he's just casually playing golf and practicing his putt in the middle of this meeting.
So Lucius Fox runs through. They have 80. The Wayne companies have set up 83 shelters, and all of the employees of Wayne companies are being paid full salary and basically farmed out to help in recovery efforts instead of their usual jobs. And then he kind of I don't think we get the guy's first name, and I'm not too familiar with this character from other Bat stuff, but we have the main like accountant, like the CFO, Wayne Tech, and all that thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, we're not making any money, so we're kind of just draining the vault. And Bruce is like, don't worry about it. And on one hand, it's like kind of stupid business move. Like you're just.
I think if I'm right, it could be later. I believe this gets addressed later on, where Bruce loses his money, and that's why Lex Luthor's trying to do the buy-in on, and that's why Bruce has to strike a deal with Lex when New Gotham gets built.
But I really like this segment because, and especially during this event, because one of the super tired criticisms of Batman is like, oh, he could do so much better if he just used his money, build schools and reform criminals and stuff like that. And it's like, he does that stuff too. He's a super rich dude with all these companies and charities, but we don't show that for 22 pages in every issue because it's kind of boring as fuck when we're trying to read a superhero comic. But they address it really well here, and we see that Bruce Wayne is multifaceted and helping on all fronts.
If you wanted a full 22-page story of that, it's like any boardroom scene in any superhero movie. Unless there's Willem Dafoe yelling what would be meme catchphrases in 10, 15 years down the line, do you really want it?
Yeah, and even just his super heroic stuff. Like people also criticize, like the normie complaint of Batman is, oh, he just beats up mentally ill people and puts them in jail over and over again. And it's like, for the majority of this story so far, it's been Batman saving people like 3/4 of the time. And I mean, he's punched up like Mr. Freeze and Clayface, and he's threatened without violence, without using violence, the Penguin. But we haven't seen him just like punching the Joker 100 times yet, at least.
Well, no, and well, the thing with the Joker is we're probably not going to see Joker until like No Man's Land Volume 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't come in until like the end.
And then the kind of another spin-off part leaves his meeting and quickly goes to save a guy who's holed up in his apartment, and it's the whole like I won't give up my land, but he saves the guy. Whatever, quick little
Yeah, but the pages are awesome because we get like three full page splash pages of Brave Vocal Batman.
yeah. Um, and then the final part, I wouldn't really call it an epilogue, but the final part, he meets up with Vesper, his girlfriend, radio host, walks her home, and I thought the dialogue in this segment was really good.
Yeah, I
They
thought this was really good.
they share some nice words and kind of touch on both of their roles, how as she's kind of the voice of Gotham and she has to keep talking to people, and she's talking about how disaster has affected people who call in and the city of Gotham, and she touches on how Bruce Wayne is like this sad broken man, blah blah blah. Gotham, it will eventually be rebuilt, but there will still be scars. It in like 3 pages, a lot of pretty interesting stuff.
I heard a lot of Kevin Conroy's Bruce Wayne voice while I was reading his lines here. I thought it reminded me a lot of Bruce Wayne scenes from like BTAS there.
Yeah,
But I mean, normally Kevin Conroy's Batman is the voice for Batman I read in my head. I just think it really kind of resonated here.
yeah, it's very measured and introspective. I thought, honestly, like these few pages, as far as dialogue goes, maybe some of the best writing in this podcast so far.
Yeah, that's the I think I mean kind of a cop out. Like when I'd say like if I was picking up the books, I'd say Batman, but I think I'd be picking up Batman on the strength of this issue. Like I think that's the one that really kind of cements the why I'd pick this up over Shadow of the Batter Tech to me.
Yeah. Well, we've seen also Tech is kind of like, and especially on this episode, Tech is kind of like Batman with extra helpings of the family.
Which I'm fine with. I feel like that's what Tech should be.
Yeah, it's a good differentiation within the books, but also like if you're making your hypothetical pull list, if you're already set on picking up Robin and Nightwing, it's like okay, I can skip Detective, and then Batman is the book focused more so on Batman. But I wouldn't say any of the titles are bad.
No, I don't think I'd say I'm enjoying Road to No Man's Land Volume 1, especially as this is the one that's definitely not as much talked about because I know Volume Two's got Wayne Goes to Washington, which is like the story that everyone kind of remembers. But I'd say once again we're still in like the one-off stories here, but I've I've probably enjoyed this at least like more than 3 of the episodes in Cataclysm.
Yeah.
Um, I think not a super strong start, but a good start is what I'd say.
The one other thing we did not mention is that the cover of Detective 722, which I think is a Stelfreeze cover, is used as the cover for the Cataclysm trade.
Yeah,
A little weird, but and this is one of my favorite covers so far.
yeah.
Very good cover.
Also does the cover for Batman 556.
Yeah. The it really doesn't get better than like Batman is the best superhero for silhouette panels and covers and everything.
It's because of the cape.
Yeah. Um, so that's episode 5 of this show. Next episode should be very interesting because it is not collected in Road to No Man's Land.
Oh, it's not.
It is the Brotherhood of the Fist crossover, which wraps up Detective, Robin, Nightwing with Green Arrow.
Connor Hawk hero.
Yes. And I believe the entire, yeah, because I think Dixon is the ongoing writer on Detective. So the entire 4 or 5 part arc should be 100% written by Chuck Dixon, which is very impressive. I mean,
because he was the writer of Green Arrow.
yeah, I mean, he's writing 4 or 5 ongoing series at this point. It's just wild.
Which no one does anymore.
Yeah. So that should be very exciting. I don't think I've ever read a issue of Green Arrow which, as the sole star, has Connor Hawke.
I think you'll enjoy it because I've heard, like, from what I've read online, I hear people saying that, like, Chuck Dixon's run on Green Arrow with the Connor Hawke stuff is kind of an underappreciated gem.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. I mean, he doesn't get nearly the same spotlight as I mean, I always compare him to, as far as legacy heroes, you're always gonna he pales in comparison to Wally West or Kyle Rayner.
Yeah, he's definitely the lowest in the totem pole, which is, I mean, someone has to be, but I think just as an interesting ending note, I actually just finished reading Kevin Smith's Green Arrow run, and at the beginning introduction of the book, he said he wanted to pay tribute to all the great runs before him, and he even mentions Dixon's run in his introduction too. So like enough people and I know Kevin Smith on that run really wanted to make like a statement and pay tribute to all that. So like if he put Dixon in there, I'm kind of excited to see what he wrote, what Dixon's run was.
Yep. So we'll take a little peek on that, maybe with the kind of one-off nature of the next episode, and also a Green Arrow appearance. Maybe we'll be able to rope in some interesting guest stars. So thanks for watching this episode, and tune in next time for that one. Bye-bye.